Big news from Matt Rule here on Monday. Hi, Sean Callahan of HuskerOnline. Before I get to that, this report brought to you by Game Time. No better way to get access and deals on tickets than the Game Time app. I used it myself this last weekend to get great tickets to a Kansas City Chiefs game. Found the best deal on tickets you're going to find anywhere, and I checked it all throughout the game, and you're not going to get a better deal than Game Time. Whether it's college football, Nebraska volleyball, Nebraska football, Major League Baseball, whatever the sport, whatever the concert, Game Time has you covered with their easy-to-use app, and we're going to give you $20 off your ticket order by simply using the promo code ON3. Okay, let's get back into Matt Rule, because the big news, obviously, is Dana Holgorsen will serve as Matt Rule's play caller and offensive coordinator here over the final 3 games of 2024.
Obviously, we made the move with Dana last week. He will call the plays this week and serve as the offensive coordinator moving forward.
So what does that mean for Marcus Satterfield? Rule said he'll remain on staff, and he's been great with this transition thus far.
You know, Marcus is about as good a man as I know. And, you know, he could have just said, hey, you know what, fire me. You know, give me my money, I'm going to go home. But he didn't. He didn't. And, you know, in a world where, trust me, I get it, it's a results business, but, like, you're still trying to teach some life lessons to our guys. He humbled himself and said, what do I need to do? And, you know, it's like, the first day Dana said to me, he watched practice. He's like, man, you got really good coaches. I'm watching them out there. Like, I'm watching EJ, I'm watching Donnie, I'm watching Sat, I'm watching Glenn, I'm watching Garrett. Like, there's great coaches here. We just have to find the things that, like, our guys do well. Let's just do those things and eliminate all the other stuff. And so, so Sat's out there coaching the tight ends. Garrett's coaching the wideouts. Donnie's coaching the O-line. Glenn's coaching the quarterbacks. EJ's coaching the running backs. And anything that Dana needs, they're helping him. You can't come in and change the offense. You can't come in and install the air raid. You can't come in and, we're in week 11, as you said, but you can come in and say, hey, what are the things that we do well? Who are the guys that make plays? And let's figure out how to do it with those guys. So I think that's the big picture that I think he's doing right now.
But another better question now for Holgorsen as he moves forward is, will Dylan Raiola be available at quarterback?
Dylan will try to practice tomorrow. We'll see where he's at. We'll get both him and Heinrich ready. I think it's just a possibility, right? I mean, we're getting him, Danny, and Heinrich all ready, and I'll know more after. We practiced last night. We're not much of a practice. I'll know after Tuesday practice if he can play or not.
When Rule talked more about Holgorsen, he's got a lot of respect just for what he's done as a coach, and he's a guy that has been on Rule's radar really since January when he tried to get him to initially join the staff back then.
I think called him last week, had him come in, had him kind of look at everything. I think he's got a long history of success offensively, both as a head coach, but certainly as a coordinator before that. And I think he just kind of gives us a fresh perspective on looking at kind of what we're doing and who we're doing it with, and was able to sort of say, hey, let's kind of go in these directions over here. So I just think it gives us a great opportunity to have one of the great offensive minds, a guy that I've been friends with before and I trust, and excited to see what he does. I think it goes all the way back to me going to the convention as a young assistant and sitting and listening to him talk, and then coached against him when he was at West Virginia. Saw the evolution of what he did there in terms of going to a cold weather place, running the football, but still being really explosive, winning. We're represented by the same people, so we see each other at a lot of different places. Friends with my wife and I. We come to Charlotte quite a bit, and so just someone I respect as a coach. This is it's not a friend thing. It's more of a I just respect him. I respect what he's done. He got done last year and probably needed some time, and I called him last week and said, hey, can you come in and help? So he and Phil came in and kind of looked through everything, and I think he felt confident. I think he likes, as he said to me, he likes our coaches, he likes our players, and felt like he could help.
And regardless of how this all plays out, it is very unique here 11 weeks in, now heading into week 12, that you see a move like this made on a coaching staff.
It's probably unique, but it's what's needed. It's the right thing. I think the kind of the genesis of this was, I think what you're going to see now as coaches get fired. I think you'll start to see coaches like leaving maybe even before bowl games and coaching bowl games, and so the players can have some familiarity with them. And I think that that was kind of in my head of like, hey, I think you've seen coaches take jobs now and then go there and coach the bowl game. When I went to Baylor, I sat out and didn't do that, and so I didn't really have a chance to know the players till mid-spring. And so last Sunday, I appreciate all the work our staff has done. I love how hard they've grinded and cared about the kids and done their best and produced some good moments. And I felt like we needed some help, and so I just thought this was, the right thing to do. At the end of the day, like, it might be bold, it might be unique. And again, I didn't bring him at first with that. I said, hey, come and see. And I think as he got here, he felt comfortable. And Marcus walked in right away and was like, tell me everything you need. And Glenn did the same thing. And Garrett said, I can translate this into your language. And so and then Dana's obviously, he's really, really a smart guy offensively. He can figure out kind of what we're doing and what we do well. So.
On the flip side, we also saw Phil Snow from Baylor, the former Baylor defensive coordinator, as well as Carolina and Temple. He was in Lincoln this week. He served as a consultant, though, for Rule really over the last entire season. So not as big of a deal as Holgorsen, but still very notable.
Yeah, Phil doesn't even come up here. Phil does everything virtual for us. He watches tape and is an advanced guy for us. Like, we have a couple guys that do things like that for us, whether it's in personnel or. So he like when we were playing Colorado, he'd watch Colorado's defense, dissect the defense for us, watch their offense, dissect the offense. Frank Verducci does the same thing for us, though he does come up on game days. So we have a couple guys that help us kind of like, in the NFL, like as advanced scouts, just sort of their take, then give that information to the coordinators on Sunday. So you walk in on a Sunday, but you have someone who's already studied them for a week who kind of knows your way of seeing things and the other team's strengths and weaknesses. So when last week when we were kind of going through this, I woke up Sunday morning, went through Sunday day, and then got home. I called both those guys Sunday night and said, hey, can you get up here at some point? And then waited to see if they showed up on Monday or not. Coach Snow came in and was like, I trust Phil with my life, and he was like, man, you got a really good group of kids, you got a good defensive staff. It's just some of these games, it's just like a play here or play there. It's like, you're knocking the quarterback out of bounds on 3rd and 8 when you need to come around and sack fumble the ball, right? So it's just, just a little edges here and there that we're fighting for.
And as Rule sizes up all these changes moving forward, I think another big thing to note with Dana Holgorsen, they're not completely running a new offense. A lot of the terminology and those things will stay the same moving forward.
I want to score points. I think the thing with Dana, Dana came up last year, to visit, and at the time I was hoping, maybe he would do one of those. Sometimes as a head coach, you get fired, you go and you go down to Alabama, work for Nick Saban or something like that. And I looked at Coach Saban's history of having Bill O'Brien and Lane Kiffin and all those guys as OCs, guys who've been head coaches who have perspective. This is a lonely job sometimes, and to have someone in the building who's done that, you have someone to bounce ideas off of. So at the time, I was hoping maybe at some point he'd be ready to do this. But no, if I look, if I'm being honest about myself, if I look back, I think, we've always done a good job of playing really good defense. We've always done a good job of being physical. We've always done a really good job of developing players. When we've had good offenses, we've won games. And so Dana, when I think about what he's done, going to Oklahoma State, what he did there, going to West Virginia, the run game that they had, I competed against them. It was a really, really physical, tough team. And so it just made sense to me.
And we won't hear from any other players or even Holgorsen or Tony White this week in terms of media availabilities. It's pretty clear Rule is going to keep things fairly close to the vest.
That's why I'm not going to let anybody talk to you guys tomorrow, because you guys are really good at your jobs, and I appreciate that, but I would love to keep everything as, we're sitting here trying to figure out what they're going to do with, they've changed the quarterback. We're watching UNLV film and spring film and all that. So, I think the thing that I've learned from Coach Holgorsen over the years, and the thing that he said since he got here, and the thing that, I would say I did wrong by Marcus and Glenn and all the guys is simplification, right? Just simplifying to what you do well, and let's just do those things. And we have not gotten that done. And so I don't know that you can go out there and say, hey, let's have, two offenses, right? I thought in the UCLA game when Heinrich got in there, I thought he did a nice job. He could pull the ball down and run. He found open guys. And but we're going to kind of keep our things in-house and our cars as close to the vest as possible.
And a big thing to continue to watch all week will be the health status of quarterback Dylan Raiola with the Huskers. In Lincoln, I'm Sean Callahan of HuskerOnline.com.